This is 102.3 WHIV LPFM in New Orleans. We already know HIV with programming. That's right, programming dedicated to human rights and social justice. WHIVFM.org. We honor independent voices. We are not a radio station with a mission. No, we are a mission with the radio station, that is to end all wars. Welcome to COVID Noise Filter, the daily hour-long show, except now we are every other day. Welcome. I am your co-host, Mark Alendary, and sitting across the digital divide is my friend and yours. Say hello, Doc Griggs.
Hello, Doc Griggs.
Oh, man, dude. You still got that Barry White voice thing going on. It sounds like you like a combination of Barry White and Tom Waits. Like you drank a fifth of scotch that was also laced with razor blades.
Yeah, and picked up the microphone as soon as they woke up.
Right. Yeah. What's going on?
I don't know, man. It's getting better. It's the laryngitis again. You know, as things drip down in your throat, you can couple it with seasonal allergies, just exhaustion, all of that. There's a lot of rest in my near future.
Yes, I hope so. You have 3 long days of getting rest, right?
Hopefully, yeah. Knock on wood.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Friday, and so carrying on with the tradition of our Friday shows, Doc Griggs and I are enjoying a adult beverage. So cheers to you, Doc Griggs, and I hope that you get a restful weekend. And cheers to everybody. Hold on, hang on. You're right.
Yeah.
Cheers to everybody watching. If you are watching, thank you so much. Please hit the share and like button so that other people know that we are on live right now. And please engage with us. We'd love to hear your comments. I think, Angela, we were talking about you on Wednesday. I think when we were talking about the heat in Portland. And so we just wanted to send our I know that right now it's very, very hot where you are, or it certainly was for the last couple of days, and hopefully you and your family did well, and you are clinicians, so I hope your patients did well as well. Doc Griggs, before we get started here with the show, anything you want to talk about? Anything you talked about on the news recently? What's going on?
So what we talked about today, I think you might find interesting, that there's a study that came out said that one of the possible causes of the long hauler syndrome could be the reactivation of Epstein-Barr virus, which is kind of cool. It has similar symptoms to some of those seen in our long haulers. EBV, folks, is, for those that don't know, is a virus responsible for mononucleosis, the chronic fatigue, the rash, and some of the other symptoms that we're finding in long haulers. They're saying could be due to COVID-19 eliciting such an inflammatory response that it reactivates a dormant EBV or Epstein-Barr virus that resides in 90 to 95% of us. And it's interesting in that it would give hope as far as treatment goes for some of the people that are long haulers, in that the EBV is one of the herpes viruses. And there are antivirals. Dr. Derry would know a little something about those. Antivirals that could be used. It opens up the door to potentially get titers in EBV titers in people. I mean, it just opens up the whole plethora of treatment and diagnosis and consideration options just by this coming to light. Like, now, it's not definitive, it's not definite, but the fact that it's a possibility is really fascinating.
Absolutely. And, it's always been really fascinating to see where chronic fatigue came from or has come from. And certainly people who have chronic fatigue do have, we've always seen that there was some relationship to previous Epstein-Barr virus infection. And what it comes down to is, as you said, is this chronic inflammation. And what we are seeing with these long haulers is chronic inflammation. And so I did read that study. I thought it was really fascinating. And it'll be fascinating to see what happens. But one thing that we do know, Doc Griggs, that gets people better with respect to long haul or post-COVID syndrome is getting a vaccine. So vaccines help significantly. So that's something that I thought was really interesting.
Which is really, really, that's a whole nother show. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to respond to the comment that Angela put up here. Did you see this? What happened in Lighton, British Columbia? So she says, thanks, we did fine in our house, but nothing compared to Lighton, British Columbia. I don't know if you saw, it got up to, I'd heard 116, but here 121 degrees. And then the following day, the whole town burnt down.
The whole town?
The mayor, there's video, it's a small town, but there's video of the mayor just driving around with his, with his phone narrating as all these fires were coming around. So we are literally, the earth is literally burnt down. I often say, I don't call it climate change. I call it climate changed. I think we are in climate change, and it's pretty insane, quite frankly. And then hello, Tamiko. Thank you so much for being on.
Remember, we want to talk to Tamiko, if we can, directly about what's going on in Japan.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what's going on in Japan, Tamiko, with respect to the Olympics, because certainly this looks like the Olympics looks like it's going to happen, despite the Delta variant. I think that there are cases that are going up in Japan right now, and they're still going to have an Olympics, which is really, history will not look kindly back on that. Angela says here, the EBV connection is intriguing. I know COVID long hauler who also has EBV. She's being treated at the COVID care clinic at OHSU and Oregon Health State University, I think, or Oregon Health Sciences, and has been given antivirals. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's really fascinating. I would love to know what the antivirals are that they're using to treat, because it would be fascinating. But in the end, what's happening with post-COVID syndrome is essentially this idea, or long haulers, is this prolonged inflammation. And what that prolonged inflammation is due to is really hard to capture. It could be a reactivation of EBV, possibly. That'd be really, really fascinating. It would be really interesting to see if that actually pans out. But obviously, we need a lot more work to determine that. So, right, Doc?
Oh yeah. It's like I said, all this is. We've been in this big science. It's been a big science lab for the last 16 months, and there's some cool stuff that come out of it sometimes.
It almost seems like it's a science lab that never closes and it's open 24/7.
Right.
Anyway, let me. I actually didn't load up the. Let me load up the slides here. Do you have some interesting stories? This may be. Doc Griggs and I were actually on a previous meeting, so I didn't get a chance to really get a lot of stories in. But Doc Griggs, you want to talk about the meeting that we were in just a moment ago before we had to go and prep for the show?
Well, yeah. Well, why don't you drop on them what you shared with what y'all dropped on me at the meeting that I didn't know about? Oh, by the way.
So yeah, we have to start promoting this. So it. I have to check it one last time, but it looks as though that the NoiseFilter podcast is nominated for the best podcast in the medicine category, and that is with the People's Choice Awards. And I will get a link to that. And I think that right now they're accepting nominations, and we were nominated to be nominated, I think is what we need to do. So I will quickly look for that site link so that if you guys are interested, we would love to have you guys nominate us for the podcast awards. This is what this is the link for it here, and I did check it out. I think you actually have to sign. You have to sign in. So I think this is after you sign in, you're able to nominate us. But I haven't yet actually checked it out. I'm just gonna check it out tonight. But we just found out that we were nominated to be nominated. So so we need you guys to go nominate us. And I don't know if we're on a list or what have you. But did you see? Were you able to check it out yet, Eric, or?
I wasn't able to check it out yet.
Okay. So we'll be pushing this probably every day. I think you can vote. I think you can vote as much as you want. I think it's like once a day or whatever, and we'll start embedding it in our podcast as well. So thank you, Eric, for reminding me to do good self-promotion, because at least I know I am. You and I are not the best in self-promoting, and I think we should probably be a lot better. Great. And then also, you want to explain what the meeting was that we were doing?
Yeah, so it's we're trying to get our messaging out and to reach people where they are on a number of levels. We're working on a graphic novel and a curriculum to talk to basically our preteens and our middle schoolers just about life and sex ed.
Health and body image, and empowerment. So Dr. Riggs and I we're going to take our animated selves and put ourselves on the animated page, and we're working on a book for health and basically, but focusing on queer, LGBT, and trans health mostly, and gender non-binary is what the focus is going to be. So it'll be interesting. We just are starting to get some of that. We just saw some of the first images today, and they look great.
They do.
So we saw the characters, and the whole thing looks great. So we're super excited about that. So, all right, with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started here. Are we showing? Yes, we are. All right. Again, if you guys are here, please like and share the stream so that more and more people can find us. All right. Let me do this real quick. All right, let's get started here. It is a new Oxford study shows that AstraZeneca and Pfizer's vaccine remain broadly effective against Delta and Kappa. They looked at the ability of the antibodies in the blood from vaccinated people to neutralize those variants. The study did show concentration of neutralizing antibodies were somewhat reduced, which explains some of the breakthrough infections. So what this says to me is that it's something that we already know, and that is that these vaccines are effective, and they have been doing their job, and they are effective against Delta and Kappa. I am not 100% familiar with Kappa. Is this is a new variant? Are you familiar with what Kappa is, or?
No, that's my first time hearing that. When you said Kappa, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Kappa.
Yeah, so this is new for me as well. But what this shows is something that we've been talking about for some time, is that the mRNA vaccines do provide high degree of efficacy and efficiency with respect to. Can you let them know we're on air, Eric?
If I let them know that, it's going to go to both, so we'll just tell them there.
Okay. There's a high level of efficacy and efficiency on with the mRNA vaccines with the Delta variant, upwards to 88%. So this is another study confirming that. And again, this is new for us, as neither one of us have heard of Kappa. But you can bet that as soon as we're done here, I'll definitely look it up. Let's see. We report numbers that we get. That doesn't mean those numbers are right. The Health Ministry of Mexico said COVID-related deaths there likely exceed the confirmed toll by a whopping 60%. So another study just showing that the numbers that we have are not necessarily the numbers that we are going to be truly reflective. We are going to see, once we get into a post-COVID world, we are going to see the numbers far, far higher than they are. We're going to report on the numbers that we get, but we always say with a caveat that we have to assume that the numbers are underreported, both in cases and both in deaths as well. So in Mexico now, they're saying that the numbers have been they've been low by 60%, and so again, it's super important for us to realize that despite the numbers that we see in my head, I kind of just multiply everything by 5, because I think that's where the number is going to ultimately kind of end up. There is going to be at about 5 or so. In other words, if you see a number, just multiply it by 5, and that's can be more realistic. All right, let's move over to Russia and what's happening in Russia right now. Russia reported 669 coronavirus-related deaths yesterday. This is the most confirmed in a single day since the beginning of the pandemic. A Delta variant surge is underway. Russia's coronavirus task force also confirmed 21,042 new cases in a 24-hour period, with 5,823 of those in Moscow alone. And what this is telling me, is that something that we've already known, we've known for a while, and that is we are seeing outbreaks occurring in different parts of the world. This is going to be the theme for today's show, because the Delta variant is so much more infectious than the other variants. Of course, as we've mentioned before, it's 60% more infectious than the Alpha variant, and the Alpha variant was 60% more infectious than the strain that emerged out of Wuhan. So it's not a surprise to see these numbers in Moscow as large as they are. And again, we're going to start hearing and seeing about more of these cases happening around the world. That being done, Keisha, thank you so much. She did vote, thank you. 2 categories, people's choice and health. So does that mean that we got to look this up. Were we in 2 categories, or we can't hear you, Eric? Yeah.
I'm trying to navigate it now. It looks like they have you sign up. I'm trying to figure out how to get.
You have to sign up.
Yeah.
So thank you, Keisha, for voting for us. And then also, Eric, did you see about this? Is it true that the CDC is recommending that local health stop tracking breakthrough cases? This is the first I'm hearing about it.
I haven't heard that one. No, I've not heard that.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll definitely keep an eye on it.
I hope it's not true.
Yeah, I hope it's not true. That would seem like the CDC that was from the previous administration that would do something like that.
Right.
This CDC strikes me as not being the one that would do that. Moving on to a Gallup poll here. A Gallup poll shows that only 8% of Americans now mention COVID-19 as the most important problem in the U.S. In fact, it's not even in the top 2. Even at that, numbers peaked in April 2020. It's still the top concern. Less than half Americans at 45%. Race relationship is number 2. A concern, while the government is cited as the nation's biggest problem. There's so much to unpack here. There's so much to unpack here. I'm gonna take this down because I think that it's so important. I mean, there's 2 here. There's 3 things here that are so important. One is the fact that people are not considering coronavirus to be a problem. Number 1. Number 2, and this is something that you and I've talked a lot about, Eric, is that we live in a society that purposely denigrates government. There is a distrust in government, Reagan, and all of these guys that hate the government all end up going into government, right? You had Reagan's, often quoted, the 3 scariest words are when Jack booted Doug show up at your door and say, "Hi, I'm here from the government. I'm here to help." It's this strong sense of distrust. And can you believe that government is cited as the nation's biggest problem? It's horrific. The only sobering thing here is at least there is an understanding that that there is. I'm interpreting, maybe I'm reading into it, but that the race relations is the number 2 concern. Is hopefully is an understanding that we need to do better. And recognize that there's systemic inequities that exist in our society. So, thoughts on any of that, Eric?
I mean, it's more of the same. We're living more of the same bad dream sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yes, and yes, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I never know what to say to that.
Yeah, no question about that. And Fetty says here, that the World Health Organization on Monday announced that B1617 and 1617 variants of COVID-19 first identified have been named as Kaplan. Oh, all right, got it. So announced that 1617 is Delta, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it looks like but there are 2, right? 1617.1, 1617.2.
Right.
So Kappa and Delta. So Delta is the 16172.
No. Kappa is probably. Oh, got it. Kappa is 0.1 and Delta is 0.2.
That's what I just said. That's the way
Yeah,
she said.
I know. I was just repeating.
But what I'm just, that's still confusing to me though. Like, I've not heard of it used that way, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it'll continue to be confusing for us, I am sure. I'm going to read Tamiko's comment here. Because it's a little bit longer, I can only read half of it, then I'm going to have to click off of it. All right. Yes, it's not good. Japan is still in a state of emergency. The locals don't want the shot. I had a case Thursday and had to close 3 preschool programs. This affected 75 children and 16 staff members. Wow. I'm over to large sites with 400 children. I'll read the rest of it here. With 400 children and 125 staff, only 2% of my Japanese staff are vaccinated. Wow.
2%. So why is that, Tamiko? Is it access or choice?
40% of my American staff are vaccinated. Not sure moving forward. The locals are scared but don't want to get the shot. Children and youth programs are not looking good. You never know when a child or staff will contract it. It's a long and an intense protocol with the military when this happens. On Monday, the base was lifting a lot of restrictions, and now a child development center has had a few cases, had a case a few days later, and they're acting like COVID-19 is over. Wow. So what are they going to do about Olympics then? How is that going to work? What's that going to be like? I can only imagine, right?
Pretty interesting to hear. That's wow.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy. Thank you for that update from Japan. It's Saturday morning in Japan right now, so happy Saturday, Tamiko.
Right.
All right. Going back here, a study out of Ontario says that your pet cat is more likely to get COVID than your pet dog. They don't really know why. It could be something as simple as the fact that most dogs have long noses. Regardless, nearly 70% of cats and more than 40% of pet dogs tested positive for antibodies. Most were mild and without symptoms. Can you believe that? I mean, I'd love to know who they sampled, but 70% of cats and 40% of dogs tested positive for antibodies. That's crazy, isn't it?
That's interesting.
Yeah. Listen to this. It's choice. They can get it free from the military.
Wow. I wonder what they're wow. It still just amazes me. Like, really? Like, wow.
It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's insane. Moving over to Africa, the African Union's envoy tasked with procuring vaccines is blasting Europe, saying not one dose, not one vial has left a European factory for Africa. The continent is experiencing a crushing third surge. The envoy accuses COVAX of withholding the fact that key donors aren't delivering on the money they promised on the program. So there we go again. Another story, another day in the world in which some of the most vulnerable countries in the world are still going unvaccinated. And when we read stories like that, let me tell you how to interpret a story like that. Here's how: when you read a story about no vaccines getting to the continent of Africa, this is what your mind should be saying. Oh, we're going to have prolonged COVID for many years to come.
Yeah, COVID's just going to do this. And it's going to keep mutating.
Mm-hmm. That is, yes. Congratulations, world, right? Congratulations, resource-rich countries for not recognizing that unless, sinking, a rising tide lifts all ships. We have to do this together. If we don't do it together, we are going to see more variants. We're going to see more problems. I can't stress it enough. Like, to me, it just seems so clear, but what do I know? I'm just
epidemiologist, infectious disease doctor, COVID-19 doc at the front line. Yeah, you don't know anything.
I'm just a chump in New Orleans.
Yeah, you read about COVID one time on a Twitter feed.
Right. Here we go. The Olympics are still on. The locals are saying Japan lost so much money last year. I don't think they can afford to lose money again this year. Wow, it's amazing that it comes down to economics, huh?
Yeah, it always does. I think we learned a harsh lesson that I wish they'd have emphasized a lot more in med school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did not see that coming.
Right, absolutely. Moving over to Israel, here a leading vaccination country is struggling as well. Israel reported the highest daily infection rate in 3 months. Authorities are racing to vaccinate children and are considering tighter travel restrictions at Israel's main airport. Some 85% of the adult population has been vaccinated. So this is really, 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 really fascinating, Eric. I mean, here you have a highly, highly, highly vaccinated country, and we're still seeing increases in cases. Now, again, the severity of these cases are lower, but with the Delta variant that's out there, you are still seeing increases in cases. So does herd immunity even exist anymore? Is talking about herd immunity even a thing? 85% of the country has been vaccinated.
So I want to talk about why that's a problem, just to remind everyone. The reason it's a problem when you're having people continually test positive or be infected is that each person, there are millions of copies of the virus made again. And in that million, those are millions of opportunities for more mutations to occur and possibly stick. It's more opportunities for the virus to evolve to the next phase. The same thing like we want for our kids and our grandparents and parents wanted for us to get better and to be stronger and to be more robust. It's the same thing that's happening in the viral world. So for every one person, if you remember that, was it a year ago?
What's that?
No, it was in the fall. We talked about where there was a patient that was immune compromised, and how many different variants came out of that one.
Huge number. Huge number.
Yeah. So it's serious, and it just some days it gets tiring.
Yeah, and remember also the other thing too is there was a story. We know that immunocompromised individuals are more likely to kick off and produce variants. So it's really, really problematic and something that we really need to be aware of. So yeah, it's a thing, and it's a thing that's out there, and it's problematic, you know. And again, we have to be vaccinating everybody. So again, here you have a highly vaccinated country, you know, and we're still seeing increases in cases. And so, right now it's worrisome. Listen, do I think it's still a main problem? I still think it's a major problem, and I think it's something that we need to be aware of. And I'm shocked that COVID is no longer on people's minds anymore. And it goes back to what Doc Grigg says all the time, that people really think that COVID is over. And certainly we see it in the data. You and I look at this data every day, and we know that it's not. And so I'm still shocked that people still think that it is.
Yeah, no, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's not cognitive dissonance. It's nothing. People are done. Like they mentally, it's over. It's like it's a movie.
Yeah.
And everyone's walked out of the theater.
Yep. And yes, Israel does have Pfizer on board. And Tamika says not having it last year really hurt locals for making extra money so they could sell fresh fruits and vegetables and local crafts. Yeah, it's insane.
Let me just tell you, man, I don't see our nomination. I'm on this page. I don't see it.
No, you don't see it. You registered?
I registered. I'm going to the health. I don't know what sections.
Make sure that it's not the 2019 or the 2020.
They took me. They said select your nominations now, open until July 31st, and then they send you to their page. So this is the people's choice. I just don't see us.
We're not listed.
Maybe I'm on the wrong thing. If someone can help me navigate directly, because I just went to the link that they sent me.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you're not. Let's
try again.
Yeah. All right. So moving over to Bangladesh, it's the first day of national lockdown, the first day of national lockdown in Bangladesh. Daily tallies of new coronavirus infections have quintupled. No, it's quintupled. Do you think they spelled it wrong? I thought it was
Quintupled.
That's it.
Quintupled.
For the past month, less than 3% of residents there are fully vaccinated. Less than 3%. And because of that, a public health activist said there will be fourth wave and a fifth wave before we can vaccinate everyone, while rich countries are lifting lockdowns and giving booster doses. Well, I don't know giving booster doses, but the point is well taken. Again, another example and another way to interpret this is, oh yes, we are going to be having COVID for a while to come. I don't know if you saw Keisha's note here, Eric. It says that it's listed as COVID noise filter.
COVID noise filter. Got it. Okay.
All right. Let's see. A team of scientists resigned positions as editors with vaccines, including one who was on the team that developed the AstraZeneca vaccine. They're protesting the publication of a peer-reviewed article that misuses data to conclude that for 3 deaths prevented by vaccine, we have to accept 2 inflicted by vaccination. They say that assumes all deaths after vaccinations are caused by the vaccine, which is grossly irresponsible. Wow, that's really something. I've not heard about that story. That's
really.
We have to accept 2 inflicted by vaccination. How can that, why to prevent 3? That's ridiculous. All right,
wait. Can we say that one more time? Like, we have to do that. That's confusing.
So they're saying because of the statement in an article, for 3 deaths prevented by vaccine, we have to accept 2 inflicted by the vaccination. The implication there is that the vaccine kills people.
Right. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense at all. No parent hesitation about vaccinating children in England. A recent survey shows almost 9 in 10 parents favor giving their kid a vaccine if it's offered. The survey was even conducted before the Pfizer vaccine was approved. So it's good. Hopefully, England can show the way about how we should be vaccinating people. All right, these are the stories that we've got here. FDA clears a large batch of J&J vaccine. Caseload remains low and stable. Delta variant, though, is gaining ground. Here's a story that I thought you would love, Eric, that I got in the rundown. Germany recommends mixing vaccine doses to counter Delta. And so that's something that I've been talking about. The U.S. won't reach the 4th of July goal, unfortunately, but 20 states are already there. We'll find out who's there. Biden says the U.S. is to celebrate independence from the virus on Sunday. Some say it's too soon.
Wait. Let me read that again.
Which one?
Independence from the virus. I had to make sure I heard you say that right.
Right.
Celebrate independence from the virus?
Right. Instead of celebrating Independence Day, they're going to celebrate independence from the virus. Again.
But how do you do that? Nothing. Lip button.
They're done. Everybody's done, right?
Got it. Nope. Me too. I'm just going to stay in the house.
Right. And Tamika says, I'm vaccinated and still scared of getting it. Me too. In my day-to-day interactions, I feel that there's too many that don't have the vaccine, and I suffer with severe asthma. Yes, indeed. And we hope that you don't get it. And you see what they're saying about the military. I don't know. Oh, right. Oh, in that that the U.S. military and VA hospitals struggle to increase their vaccination rates. You're right. That's a very good point, Tamika. I read right over that. Yeah, you're 100% correct. And given that you are in the military and given that that's exactly what you've been talking about. But yeah, it's unbelievable. The military and the VA are people just aren't getting vaccinated. I spoke to a reporter today from St. Charles Parish, and she was like, what can I tell my readers in St. Charles Parish? I was like, I don't know. I wish I had a magic wand that I could wave that would somehow miraculously get people motivated to do the right thing. but unfortunately,
it's going to happen. This with this RSV and all this other stuff being non-seasonal and out of sync, people are going to start getting sick again, and they're going to start getting hospitalized for things other than COVID. Then we already know what's going to happen.
Yep, it is obvious, and as the day is long, we know what's going to happen. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so this is the story here. So the government has actually taken 15 million doses of Johnson & Johnson, and they can be safely distributed despite production failures. So this move brings the total number of Johnson & Johnson doses made at Baltimore facility cleared by the FDA to about roughly 40 million, but they're still far from its goal of delivering 100 million doses to the federal government by the end of June. So what's your take on Johnson & Johnson? How have you finally cleared up your thoughts about it? Do you recommend it? What's your basic Johnson & Johnson?
I still think it's safe. I understand. I mean, it's hard to talk about Johnson & Johnson in a public setting because people have really kind of taken it out of their option list. A lot of folks. There's still a couple that won't like the one and done aspect of it, but people don't trust its safety, even though it's safe. We can just say it again. I mean, the likelihood of that type of thrombotic event or stroke, if you want to call it, is really, really small. And they had to pause, evaluate, and report as part of the scientific process. But most people I know are opting for, they're still doing Pfizer or Moderna. That's what I'm
I'm recommending for women under the age of 50 to not get Johnson & Johnson. And I am recommending people to opt for the mRNA vaccines.
Yeah.
At this point, and we just know how well they perform. I know initially, we were initially maybe considering all vaccines were, we were trying to be vaccine agnostic, but we've just seen an overwhelming data of how effective the mRNA vaccines are. And I would really strongly consider that they're still the most important vaccines for us to be recommending.
And the reason why is because the answers I can get back is like, okay, I'll just wait for another mRNA vaccine. That'll be a one shot. And I don't want you to wait. I want you to go ahead and I want you to take whatever vaccine is available as soon as possible.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I'm fascinated with the technology and the efficacy of the mRNA vaccines. But if we can just get people one and done, if that's what it'll take, because at this point it's not an easy sell to even continue the discussion about vaccines with a lot of folks. They're not doing it, or they don't want to talk about it.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about Delta variant and just more news about Delta. The highly contagious variant has gained ground in New York City in recent weeks. Since mid-June, there's been a steadily daily average of 200 new cases detected in New York City. So what we're seeing now is the Delta variant really is starting to establish a foothold in society in England, where the Delta variant now accounts for most cases. Epidemiological data released shows that it was not driving any surge in the rates of hospitalizations. That's fascinating. So one thing that we are seeing is that there is problems with the Delta variant. We've known about it for a while, and I think it's just time. It's just another example of how we're going to see this variant is going to prey on the unvaccinated. We've talked about it a lot here on this show, and I think we're starting to see examples of that as well. And here, Doc Riggs, Tamiko says, I'm proud of you leading as a role model. You had COVID-19 and still got vaccinated.
You can attribute that to my grandmother in science and Dr. Derry being persistent at the very beginning, because I was really skeptical, but I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, he was very much like, I'm not getting that vaccine. And then one day I got a phone call and he's like, I'm getting it. I'm like, what? I'm like,
I said, to be clear, I said I was not going to be first. I wouldn't be first in line.
You were.
Yeah, and I was. That's it. Totally changed it.
And how many people did you influence?
I don't know. You get people telling me all the time, they thanking me because we did it. It wasn't just me, because we did it and are doing it and are being persistent. But most importantly, what I'm hearing is that we were honest about it. Like, how did it feel? It sucked. It was horrible. I had the chills. I couldn't talk. I called Mark Allen, and I'm like, he thought I was having a cardiac event, thrombotic event. I mean, it was that bad. But then, just like, I guess the vaccine read the book. With sleep and ibuprofen, I felt better in a few hours. I was just tired the next few days. But it was just being transparent about everything, and that's what we try to be, as transparent as possible.
Absolutely. Angela, yes, Delta Plus is here as well. And then I appreciate the conversation you guys are having. No one wants to talk about how people in healthcare are not being vaccinated. Doc Briggs certainly did and was a leader, as he usually is with that. One of the COVID vaccines developed in Russia, Sputnik 5, the Epivac Corona and Kovac are 2-dose vaccines. Sputnik Light is a single-dose vaccine. Sputnik demonstrated about 80% efficacy in the real world as part of Russia's mass vaccination campaign. Moscow now targets vaccinating 30 million people by mid-June. Wow. And Keisha says that, see, Dr. Griggs, you influenced Kirk because it was a hard narrative.
I'm glad to know that we could help, Keisha.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So here it is, Doc Griggs. I know you understand this, and I know that you believe it. I know you're just waiting for official word, and I totally appreciate that. So am I. But here, in a bid to provide effective cover against Delta, German health authorities brought in the recommendation that those who received the first shot of AstraZeneca to get a second dose with a mRNA vaccine. This is one of the best available vaccine combinations currently available, says the country's health minister. And on Friday, after agreeing to formally adopt a recommendation from the country's vaccine expert panel with state lawmakers, studies have shown that mixing vaccines may increase the odds of mild, moderate side effects, including fever, fatigue, headaches. But Germany has been advising people under 60 to take the mixed regimen after worries about a rare but severe side effects. So look at this. Chancellor Angela Merkel, who's 66, was inoculated with the Moderna vaccine last month after receiving an AstraZeneca shot earlier this year. Authorities with the combination can help protect all vaccine recipients to fight Delta. So this is why I made, I said that, maybe it's not ready for prime time here, but we are seeing more and more talk and more chatter about the mixing of the vaccines. Eric?
Yeah, I want to wait on the data, because that it concerns me a little bit, because you get people that will start to thinking that that because they've had the mRNA, should I get the adenovirus or the J&J as a booster to those that are already hit the mRNA? And I don't think it works. I don't want people to start going overboard on their own and doing their own combinations, because we got to see what adverse events can happen. We don't want the incidence of that CSVT, or that specialized type of blood clot. We don't want that to go up, or we don't. I guess I'm just really a creature of science and want to know. I need to see the process first and the data to back it up. Yeah.
All right. So this next story you're going to appreciate, Eric. I can't wait to get your feedback on it. President Biden's plan to celebrate independence from the virus on the 5th of July is running into unpleasant reality. Less than half the country is fully vaccinated against the coronavirus, and the highly contagious Delta variant is threatening new outbreaks. Mr. Biden will visit Traverse City in Michigan on Saturday as part of the White House, what the White House calls America's Back Together celebration. I can't even read this with a straight face.
I'll tell you, I got nothing.
He and Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady, have invited 1,000 military personnel and essential workers to have an Independence Day bash on the South Lawn of the White House. But public health officials fear that scenes of celebrations will send the wrong message when wide swaths of the population remain vulnerable and true independence from the worst public health crisis in the century may be a long way off. On Friday, Ms. Biden urged those who have yet to get vaccinated to think about their family and get a shot as the Delta variant spreads. At a news conference mainly focused on strong jobs report from Labor Department, he said that he wasn't worried about another major coronavirus outbreak, but wanted to make sure next year's 4th of July holiday was even better than this year's. Oh my God. As my grandmother would say, oy vey. What the F? What the F? What the F? Okay, all right, I still have to read this. All right, Dr. Thomas Frieden, former CDC director, and other experts say they feared that if Delta variant continues to circulate, it will, not if, it will continue, it could mutate in a way that left even the vaccinated vulnerable. Finally, they're saying it. Eric, how long have you and I been saying this?
Wait, let me show you something. I'm going to show you something.
Hang on. I got to go back to the screen. Hang on 1 sec. Did you walk off screen? All right.
Yeah, I want to show you something.
This is like a bad dream.
You see this?
Yeah.
You see what's in here? It's water. It's water, right? Guess what? My fingers are wet. And water is wet news. The Delta variant could potentially mutate into a variant that leaves even the vaccinated vulnerable. We're doing NoiseFilter, talking about the news. This is water, and this is wet.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. All right, well, there you go. The last comment here is that already seems to be happening elsewhere in the world, where South Korea and Israel, where the virus seems to be in check and has new clusters of disease. Yes, indeed. All right, real quickly, we're going to rapid fire a couple of quick science updates, and then we'll go through our numbers. The SARS-CoV-2 variant B.1.1.7 put people in hospital. In an English cohort analysis, infection with B.1.1.7, also known as the Alpha variant, was more likely to be associated with hospitalization than other circulating variants. And I think that this is, again, this is something that we could have predicted. We've talked about it quite a bit here. In fact, I even reported on it in one of our public health updates, but it's nice to see that the studies are starting to come out. We're going to see that whatever Alpha was, Delta is going to be on steroids. There's no question than that. So moving on here, here is a really nice opinion piece, just basically saying that it's very, very difficult to determine what adverse effects and how to link those between COVID-19. And this is really coming up in a time when either people are using the what's the vaccine, the side effect profile, what's the vaccine website that the CDC is using?
Oh man. Oh yeah. Let me get it again.
Anyway, they're using the vaccine safety data to suggest that there's many more adverse effects that are linked to the vaccine.
It's called Be Safe. I don't know why I blanked on that. It's called Be Safe.
Yeah. That's right. So just reminding everybody that it's very difficult to link those. Here are two stories that appeared this week showing that COVID-19 has impeded childhood vaccination and other diseases. So authors emphasize in this one study, or in this one piece here, that the inability to catch up from these shortfalls to routine vaccination may have dire consequences for school reopenings and possibly necessitating repeated closures. And then here's another one, also more or less saying the same thing, something we have talked about, but the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on vaccination of children, coverage in children has been low. And I think that's important for us to continually repeat that. So Eric, thought that you'd be fascinated in this. This is looking at the so-called multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. So what are some of the long-term effects that they had? By 6 months, most organ-specific sequelae had resolved, but physical deconditioning and mental health concerns are still present. And so at a 6-month visit, they found that echocardiogram abnormal by 4% of patients, down from 33%. GI symptoms such as abdominal pain present in 98% prior or during hospitalization, is down to 13%. Neurological still remains, musculoskeletal. So essentially what happens here, what we're seeing is that these 6-month outcomes, while reassuring, aside from the persistence of physical deconditioning and psychological effects, but what we are seeing, and again, there was no control group, which is difficult, but what we are seeing is that there are these long-term sequelae that have occurred in children who did have the pediatric inflammatory multisystem syndrome. And it's good to start seeing more studies like this because we should be seeing more and more of them as they're coming out. Any thoughts here?
No, I mean, I always have thoughts. Yeah, we'll just got to stay tuned. I mean, just stay tuned.
Yep.
I mean, this thing, it's ever evolving. We'll have more and more data. I saw an article earlier, not sure if you saw it, they said that they're finding, this is not a surprise either, multi-systemic inflammatory syndrome, something similar it's not just kids.
Right.
That's not surprising either.
Right, yeah, absolutely. No, it's not surprising either. Okay, so we're running out of time. Let me just say that myocarditis in athletes, prevalence 2.3% based on cardiac MRIs in a population of U.S. college athletes. So we do need to recognize that that's still a thing that can happen, and over a long period of time, this can be problematic for athletes.
Almost a year ago, we could almost say to the day, last July, we were talking about potentially athletes and the long-term effects going back to college football. Remember that?
Yep, I do.
Yeah, so, folks, here's what's interesting is the more that we try, and this is amongst our colleagues in media, our medical colleagues that are in media as well, that the more we try to literally kind of talk about things other than COVID, because we think certain things might be calming down, not over, but calming down, things get ramped right back up. Just to set the stage before we go to the numbers real quick, we're going into another holiday weekend with record travel. And just pop quiz, what happens after every holiday? What happens to our numbers? What do we look for? Even though we're vaccinated, what are we worried about? Ooh, does anyone know? Dr. Derry, what do you think?
They go up and up.
Yay,
and up.
ding, 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 ding.
And then also, what do you think about this Will Smith wanting to have fireworks in New Orleans?
Well, he did it. He paid for it. He did it.
Are we going to see increase in cases because now we're going to get a bunch of people all gathered together?
Well, we were going to. So the answer is yes, of course, but that was going to happen anyway.
Right.
There are so many festivals going on tomorrow, and the issue is vaccination. We're all tired of wearing masks, but if you're not vaccinated, can you please wear a mask indoors and out, or stay home? I mean, you don't realize the risk that you're not just other people. You are at risk. 90+%. I'll say 90 plus because you get 95, 99 of the deaths, of the hospitalizations, and of the new cases. It's basically all unvaccinated people.
Yeah.
Delta variant, Alpha variant, every variant in between. It's the people that aren't vaccinated, and they're the ones it seems that don't want to wear the mask. More so than anyone else. They just want to assume this hasn't happened. So, yeah.
I bet you Doc Griggs is going to be in the house this weekend, too.
Dr. Griggs is in the house now. My vacation might be going and hang out by the kitchen window and then go back downstairs to the man cave. Go sit in the yard with an umbrella. Cheers.
All right. New cases, 432,209, 8,320 deaths. So we are starting to see possible pickup. We're seeing another wave of pandemic hitting many parts of the world. Highly contagious Delta variant. Worried about the virus variants and the surge of WHO and health officials in many countries are urging people to continue and to resume wearing masks. While lockdowns are happening in Australia, Bangladesh, South Africa, and Portugal, lockdowns are happening. And then the European Union started using digital travel passes to free people from some travel restrictions by showing that they're fully vaccinated. Interestingly, death fortunately going down, thankfully. These are the hot spots. So we're starting to see Africa really light up in a way that we've never seen before. So this is really interesting as well. So
what island is that? Right off the coast. Is that Cuba?
Here?
I'm looking at North America.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's Cuba right there, dude. You're right.
Lighting up?
Wow. Yeah, Cuba's lighting up. This is the first time we've seen Cuba really light up.
Ever. And Cuba has 6 vaccines. Right.
Absolutely. Here's DR. Here's Haiti.
Costa Rica, Colombia.
Yeah, and Haiti, they still don't even believe in the virus, unfortunately, let alone the vaccine. Here is the U.S. Last night we added about 17,000 cases, 319 deaths. Just to give you an idea, we're at 620,877 deaths, and we are slowly marching towards 750,000, just FYI. Look at this. So while cases have now for the first time are rising, right, you can see it here in that the numbers that were going down, right, 7-day case rate per 100,000, but now they went down to 21.8, that's lowest it got, and now it's going back up. They are marching upwards. While deaths are down, hospitalizations are up just a bit as well. So, and even though we are, in terms of the 7-day average, we'll look at the New York Times one in just a moment. In fact, we'll look at it right here. You can see that there is a slight increase here, and just like the rest of the world, we are going to see variants really be problematic. Now, testing is going down. It looks like hospitalization was going down. It looks like there seems to be an inflection. Fortunately, mortality continues to decrease as well. Let me see how much time we have. Oh, criminy, we have 1 minute. Moving quickly to Louisiana. Thank you, Part F. Louisiana has, we added 568 cases. Like, we're still.
That's concerning.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is affecting people who are unvaccinated.
Don't you wish this were like a smoldering fire that we could just step on and ground with your soul and just put it out once and for all and stop acting? You know what I mean? People are acting like it's like we're standing around in a circle and no one's seeing the smoke.
Right.
It's coming out of the ground.
We went from medium to high risk level.
I mean, dude.
So case rates are up, infection rates up. And total vaccinated 38.5, and in Orleans, still going up a bit in all indicators as well.
Going into a holiday weekend. This is going into a holiday weekend.
Right. We have to go. We have less than 30 seconds. I think, in short, like Eric is saying, this is going into holiday weekend. We're seeing this, and so it's just going to be a matter of time before our pants are going to be on fire again, and we're going to be yelling and screaming from the rooftops. We love you guys. Peace out. No show on Monday. We're taking Monday off for Independence from Virus Day. So we'll see you.
Dude, did you really just say that? All right, folks, I'm out.
We'll see. We'll see you guys on Wednesday of next week. Thank you. Please share, like this stream, and all that stuff. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Peace out. Have a great week.